to this masterclass on healing your third eye. You were just hearing from Greg Larsen, who co-founded this. Our motto in Miracle Makers Academy is, it's the most that we can do. We are highly committed to being a beneficial presence on the planet. We were laughing this morning about how since we met in 2003, it's been a slow progression of bringing our brains, our vision, our commitment to society, to each other, to the family, to our global planet, and to the highest level of awareness, awakeness, serviceness that we can. I am so grateful for that beautiful man that you were just listening to, Greg Larsen. He has helped me so much get present in the current moment. And he shared this morning how amazing of a journey it's been for him to awaken the right half of his brain, the energy, and his entire body to be able to see the miraculous that's available for us all. The miraculous lives within you. It is part of your third eye, part of your eyesight, part of all the processes that your sensory system, your body, is designed to help you be able to navigate, understand, and co-create with. Your body can literally, when it's healthy, create a child. It requires two people to be able to create a child. Your body has two eyes, has two ears, has a third eye that's in, and hemispheres, parts of your brain that are all listening for what you're here to create. Your eyesight, your vision, your third eye, very much so, expands. Your senses expand when you're closer to creating what you're here to do. Your body and your system closes down a little bit when you're not moving on the path in the direction of what you're here to do. It's the most extraordinary gift that you get to give yourself, this healing of your third eye, this ability to utilize your eyeballs and what I like to call these transmitters. These extraordinary transmitters transmit information, the electromagnetic system, and you've been trained to turn off most of your ability to see, hear, taste, touch, feel in the earliest part of your life. Most people have been trained over and over again, epigenetics on top of their genetics, with their family members to make themselves a little bit blind. Not on purpose, but really with the idea to help you be able to survive and thrive. We are where we are today in the most magnificent way. We're able to see all the things that the ancient ones were talking about on the temple walls. We're able to see with the latest science how you are the best pharmacy for you. Your body can produce any chemical within it. Your third eye is part of the pharmacy. Your ability to use your whole brain, your whole understanding, all of your senses allows you to be able to fully create the exact medicine or pharmaceutical, hormone, chemical, protein. It's within your body. And it's extraordinary because we've set up systems for being medical systems. We've set up systems for connecting together. If you are part of the Academy and caught last week's class, this is a quick summary that we'll step into very, very quickly. Then we're going to go into and watch a TED Talk from another doctor that has had a near-death experience. And she was able to predict her son's death and able to predict and connect in and tap in. Then we're going to go into very clearly giving you the tools to heal your own third eye and to fully understand what your body is capable of. You are far more powerful than you've ever been led to believe. Einstein said, your imagination is life's coming attractions. Over about 100 years ago, if we would have talked about flight and that there would be so many planes in the air that we'd have to create routes and systems to keep them all managed. Even 100 years ago, it would have been mind-blowing to think that young children to everybody had the possibility of flight. There are people in Africa, people in multiple parts of the world. They saw a helicopter. They wouldn't have the understanding of how to label it. They might label it a metal bird, right? There was this loud metal bird, a helicopter. Much of what you're going to see today is going to be broken down so that you have words and language that help you understand how your body works. And so what I'm sharing today, you can also find on the website. Let's see if I can bring up. This is under Dr. Sarah Larsen. This is how to heal your third eye, how to clearly see your past, present, and future. I love this quote by Martin Luther King. He says, but the end is reconciliation. The end is redemption. The end is the creation of the beloved community. It is this type of spirit, this type of love that can transform opposers into friends. It is this type of understanding, goodwill that will transform the deep gloom of old age into exuberant gladness of the new age. It is this love which will bring about miracles in the hearts of men. Our world, your world, is counting on you to be the heart of men and women. It's counting on you to bring about this miracles. Why do we share all of this medical school wisdom, this mystery school? Mystery school means whatever created the universe, what created us. Some label it God, some label it the flow force, some label it the field. This access to this region comes from being in the mystery. And if you are in the mystery about yourself, mystery about life, you can really grow your ability to heal your third eye, to clearly see the past and clearly see the future. Miracle makers, we believe in you, and we believe you are the extension of us. This is why Greg and I and all of the teachers that are here teach this. It's your love that will bring the miracles that heal the hearts of men and women. And so last week in the MasterClass, there was a clear understanding that you have two halves of your brain. There are two parts. Your eyes are crisscrossing information. Your left eye delivers to the right side of your brain, to the occipital lobe, the left side to the opposite. The right and left are crisscrossing so that you have access to your thinking word mind. Your left brain gives words to everything. Your right brain feels the energy of everything. And ancient wisdom in Egypt, in Chinese medicine, in India, all make reference to the pineal gland and to the pituitary gland. Your pituitary gland hangs like a pendulum, or hangs like a sensor on a rope, being able to sense your entire body, your entire stability. It's part of the pituitary gland, part of the pineal gland, part of your third eye. And again, I love Einstein's, your imagination is your preview of life's coming attraction. And if I used to be stuck in the past. I used to, and I still love history. I love religion. I became a minister of all faiths to really understand what happened to me in my near-death experiences. You have had amazing experiences, or else you would not be participating here as you are now. Your imagination is what is creating reality. Every time we have a worry or an anxiety of the future, we are adding to a collective field that's creating that future. So what is your third eye? What is it to really step into this aspect of you? I'm going to bring up a really quick video that talks, this is from a brilliant doctor, Dr. Mary. We'll bring this in, and then we'll talk a little bit more about your third eye.
Good evening, and thank you for being here. I'm Dr. Mary Neal, and I'm going to talk to you tonight about death, because how you understand death directly determines how you experience life. My own understanding of death changed in 1999 when I died while kayaking in South America. I was pinned under 8 to 10 feet of water at the base of a waterfall, and I was without oxygen for 30 minutes before CPR was initiated. And when I regained consciousness, I was in a state of shock. Not because I just drowned, not because of my multiply broken legs, and not because I was on the side of a remote river with no access to medical care. Now, I was in an absolute state of shock because I could not believe that I'd been sent back to my body from a place I will call heaven. It was peaceful underwater, and I was held and comforted by Christ. And no, I didn't just think or hope it was Jesus. I knew it was Christ just as I would know my husband of 30 years if I'd seen him in the grocery store. And I was taken through a life review that had little to do with judgment and everything to do with understanding and compassion and grace. And I was shown the beauty that came out of every heartbreak, every challenge, and every disappointment of my life. And then I was released to the heavens. My spirit rose up and out of the river, and I was immediately greeted by a group of people or spirits who had known me and loved me as long as I have existed. And even as they took me down this beautiful pathway woven together with fibers of God's love and exploding with color and flowers and the aromas of flowers, I could look back at the river, and I watched as my purple bloated body was pulled to the shore and my friends started CPR. And I recognized my body, and I knew that I was dead. But despite having a magnificent life with a wonderful husband and these 4 young children who I loved more than life itself, I felt like I was home, and I really had absolutely no intention of returning. And then I was told it wasn't my time, that I had more work to do on earth, and that I'd have to go back to my body. And when I objected, I was given a laundry list of work yet to be done, none of which was desirable and all of which would challenge me in one way or another. Especially challenging was news of the coming and unexpected death of my oldest son, who, as many of you know, was hit and killed by a car 10 years later. Now, of course, I did go back to my body, and I spent many of the subsequent days and weeks moving between the two worlds, one that contained my past and my future, the God of the universe and all that is love, and one that contained my present, with the family I cherished and the life I enjoyed. Now, I knew I would never be the same again, but at the time I wondered if it was just, a figment of my imagination. Maybe it was the death experience I had always expected. The problem is, I hadn't had any expectations. Like most of you, I'd never really thought much about my own death. And I certainly hadn't heard of near-death or after-death experiences in 1999. And if I had, I would have discounted them out of hand. Because although I'd been raised in the church, I readily traded my religious beliefs for intellectual ones when I went off to college and medical school. And by 1999, I was a well-trained scientist, doctor, surgeon. I was accomplished, self-confident, smart. Certainly didn't think I needed God. I was probably some mix of humanist, rationalist, material scientist, maybe a cultural Christian, I don't really know. But what I did know is that my experiences underwater had certainly seemed real. And God not only seemed real, but was the only real that mattered. So I needed answers. I spent the many months of my hospitalization and rehab searching for scientific ones. And first I looked to my medical records and people who'd been at the river, and then really fueled by a desire to discount everything I'd been told, I then read extensively about drowning, about the physiology of a dying brain, about anoxia, dreams, hallucinations, seizures, neurotransmitter dumping. But all of these conventional explanations fell short, and the scientific gaps were really unbridgeable. And nothing could account for my unscathed survival or for my profound spiritual experience. Eventually, I realized I'd had a near-death or after-death experience, and I discovered I wasn't alone in this. Almost 20 million people in this country alone have had these profoundly transformative experiences. And a continuation of the soul or consciousness after death is described in every culture, every faith tradition, and every age group. Even very young children who have never been exposed to religion recount near-death experiences. And we all talk about the same things. We talk about this purity of divine love and interconnectedness with all living creatures. And regardless of what our prior beliefs were, God becomes the only truth. In fact, 75% of atheists encounter a being that they identify as either Jesus or God. And our understanding of death forever changes. Fear disappears, and we all look forward to going home again one day. Now, maybe you understand death as a resurrection or a day of judgment or a spin into another lifetime, or maybe just the dissolution into the energy of the universe. Or maybe you think it's just a hole in the ground waiting to be filled. But what you think about death is important. And I'm here tonight to tell you that death is nothing more than the doorway to home. And it is the very existence of this home that brings context, purpose, and meaning to our time here on earth. Now, to help you understand this idea, I'm going to tell you a story about my childhood home. Now, when I grew up, I loved my home. I loved everything about it. I loved my family, my friends, my neighborhood, my little dog, the trees, the stream behind the house. I loved fresh cut grass. When I was home, I felt comfortable and content. I felt safe and secure and loved. And I really never wanted to leave. But then one day, I went off to summer camp. Now, I knew I'd be challenged. I was a little nervous. I'd never been away from home, didn't know what to expect. I assumed that I would learn and grow and maybe become a better me. And I did. It was great. I learned to swim and sail and water ski. I learned about kindness and humility. I made friends. We made bonfires. It was great. But of course, it wasn't all good. The beds were hard, and I really didn't like the food. My sandals were stolen one day, and I was pretty angry. But I actually felt compassion for the little girl when I learned of her plight. And I ended up giving her most of my clothes. And I hated the time I spent in the nurse's cabin after being stung by a bee. But I was able to find humor in all of this because I knew that my time at camp was temporary. And before long, I'd be going back to my comfortable and familiar home. Sure enough, the camp bus came, took me home. And my friends were sad and they cried a little bit. But really, I was looking forward to going home and sleeping in my own bed, and I knew my family would be waiting for me and they'd be overjoyed by my return. Now, the point I'm making with this story is that it was the existence and reality of my childhood home and the knowledge that I'd be going back there again that brought a context to my time at camp that allowed me to experience it as a great adventure. And since 1999, that's exactly how I experienced my life here on Earth. The reality and existence of our true and permanent spiritual home, the one I discovered on the other side of death, and the knowledge that I and you will be going back there one day, brings a context to my time on Earth that allows me to experience it as a great adventure with great meaning and purpose. And it changes the way I experience both good times and bad. Now, another way of understanding this concept is with this next slide. Many of you will immediately see the white cup, and some of you will see the blue faces, and which you see is a matter of focus and perspective. If you focus entirely on the cup, you'll miss the blue faces that give it context. And if you focus entirely on the faces, you'll miss the beauty and the purpose of the cup. Now imagine for a minute that this white cup represents our lifetime here on Earth. And the blue faces represent the people and the love, the reality of our home. Without the background of our home and the faces within it, this white cup of life becomes nothing but potential. Now, the relationship between my childhood home and camp, or the faces and the cup, is the same relationship that exists between our true spiritual home and our time on Earth. Now, many of you may not want to believe this spiritual home exists, and you may not want to talk about or even think about your own death, but that does not change the truth and the reality of this relationship. And I encourage you to wake up. Wake up to the potential of your life. And I'm not talking about choosing to live differently or more intentionally. I'm talking about experiencing the profound transformation of your daily life, of who you really are, how you live and why you live, that occurs only when you live in the context of our true spiritual home. Metaphysical questions become important. Problems become opportunities. Love becomes the only thing that really matters. And the door to experiencing God's presence in your daily life begins to open. Most profoundly, joy. Joy that transcends circumstances will become a state of being. I can honestly tell you that even in my deepest, darkest days of sorrow and grief after the loss of my son, I still experienced great joy, because that is the power of this transformation. And that is why I encourage you now, I challenge you tonight to put aside your excuses, put aside your complacency, get rid of your intellectual barriers and sit with your thoughts. Actually question your current beliefs. Go home and do some research, collect your own data, and try to prove what I'm saying wrong, because I know you can't. And I know that even without your coming close to death, if you honestly undertake a process of spiritual exploration and discovery, your daily life will change for the better in ways that you have no ability to even imagine. Thank you for listening.
I love her talk. I love this talk so much. Let's see if So to really, really understand this talk from the third eye perspective, why was her story so important and so profound? This doctor went into a 30-minute near-death experience. She experienced a region that she considered to be heaven, a place that I know is available to all of us. And I am so excited that when you really start living from your third eye, when you start living from this place and this possibility that heaven is here and available now, when you live from that mysterious place, that you can transform everything in life to really let go of the illusion of separation and step into your most powerful self. She really shares so beautifully, so wholeheartedly, going from her childhood home into science, into the left brain, into this experience of a near death, into understanding that there was another possibility, another dimension, another reality. She was met in this place by love. For her, love, absolute love, was Jesus. Atheists who go into this experience and go into this research were met by what they felt like were beings of love. She even talks about meeting beings of love. When you start seeing from your third eye, every person around you can become the beings of love, being of love. You begin to be able to adjust yourself to initiate and activate and transmit and co-create what's really possible in our world. I want to say this so profoundly and so clearly so that you'll get it, and we'll go back to and we'll share more about how your brain and how your body works. This incredible thing that you have, this incredible meat suit that is all yours, has capacities that you haven't been fully trained on how to use and how to utilize. And your amazing ability to be able to use it fully comes from you being able to understand yourself, your own history, for you to be able to really know how you might be canceling all the things that help you feel comfortable within yourself. And we're going to watch a little bit about understanding the disorders of the corpus callosum. This part of really getting that there is a part of you that is making sense of the whole world. Your eyes cancel information all the time. You're able to receive so much information all the time that as a kid, you had to first start turning it into black and white. You could see in black and white. Then you had to go into and you learned colors. And you shut off listening to the electromagnetic field. You only hear or understand a small fraction of what you can see with your eyes, what you can hear, the electromagnetic frequencies, until you turn them back on purpose, or you get around people that are doing this on purpose. It's such a beautiful thing. When you are using your third eye, when you're in the mystery, when you are relating to life as existence, great adventure, it feels like heaven on earth. It feels like, and you call up energy within yourself to create flow and joy and able to heal yourself and others because you're holding and connecting to higher frequencies. First, I want to share with you a little bit more about this understanding of your middle brain, your corpus callosum, the framework that's around your third eye, the frame through which your field is transmitting light through to make sense of the world. I'm so excited about this for you because you can go back within the Academy and watch this again and catch so much more, along with fully understanding you don't have to go anywhere. You literally, energetically, as someone who had a near-death experience, multiple ones, you don't go anywhere. You still exist. The thing that's real, continues to exist. And you are now going to have access to understanding the corpus callosum, the part of your brain that helps transmit the information going back and forth. So let's see if we can hit share here. This is understanding the disorders of the corpus
We've all heard the
callosum.
saying, it's as easy as riding a bike. After a few lessons, it's a skill that comes so naturally, we don't even think about it. Or do we? This easy activity is actually quite complex when it comes to how the brain works. Your brain is split into two halves, the right side and left side. Many of us think if you're right-brained, that means you're creative, while left-brained people are good with numbers. In reality, both parts work together to perform most tasks. The left side of the brain controls actions on the right side of the body. So if you wave your right hand, that's the left side in action. The right side of your brain controls the left side of your body. Riding a bike requires coordinated movement of both legs and both arms, which means the left and right sides of the brain are working together. Not only do they coordinate movement of our legs, but they also help us navigate direction and steer to avoid sudden obstacles. To work together, the two halves of the brain use a superhighway of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. It's a complex, interconnected system that works best when all the connections are fully functioning. The corpus callosum is developed during pregnancy. If any of the approximately 200 million nerve fibers that make up the corpus callosum do not form properly, or not at all, other brain systems may help the two sides work together, just not as well as they would have otherwise. This can lead to a variety of physical, developmental, social, or behavioral challenges. Today, doctors estimate 1 out of every 4,000 people is born with a malformed or absent corpus callosum. It can't be repaired or replaced, so doctors are researching ways to improve the lives of those affected by these disorders. Thankfully, the National Organization for Disorders of the Corpus Callosum, or NODCC, is working hard to promote understanding and acceptance of these conditions.
I think it's so important to fully understand that the corpus, last week's video, and understanding when you are stressed, the corpus callosum divides. Repetitive stress, it divides even further. You are constantly looking for fast moving objects. Most of us do not have the corpus callosums that the ancient ones had. I'm going to say that another way. Many of us do not have the super highway of information that the researchers and scientists that built the walls and Chinese medicine and Indian medicine and Greek philosophy. Most of us do not have the same level of highway connection. And just like once upon a time, they believed that you could not regenerate brain cells or neuroplasticity. The word neuroplasticity did not even exist. They thought once you kill a brain cell, that's it. We now know that you can develop and interconnect the corpus callosum. You can gain eyesight as you grow. You can initiate and activate your heart and your brain, communicating to such a high degree that you're able to see the electromagnetic field again with the transmitter, with your own eyes. It's such a profound feeling when you start seeing spirits, when you start capturing them on camera, when you're able to show that field. Kirlian photography, heat sensing photography, so many radio wave sensing technology, galvanic measurements now show us that there are all of these other energies that you can interpret in your field. And you don't need fancy machines, although it's great to have the validation, to have that experience. So you and I are all healing our third eye. If you and I are not experiencing the sensation of heaven on earth, or flow, or growth, or expansive laughter and joy, if we're not in that space together, it's because we're not reading the environment fully accurately right now. And this is part of the work of waking up your miracle frequency. It's part of the work. So your eyesight and your body, all of it can increase. There are biblical references and historical references to people living for a long, long time. I've met someone that's been around, he says, for over 3,000 years. I know people that spend time with people that are several thousand years old. You have that capability, and it's mind-blowing when you really get there. How do you know your third eye is working, quote unquote, healed? You're experiencing flow. You're experiencing what that Dr. Mary was talking about, this sensation, this well-being. You also can know the challenges that are coming up in the future. You can also see how the past was contributing to your miracle frequency, your miracle making abilities. So as myself, I predicted my brother's death twice. My beloved younger brother, the first time I trained him on what to say to avoid it, the exact spaces to get into, so that he would be able to continue life. He did continue life. And then the second time, I wasn't able to train him or keep him from going into that next layer. He still exists, right? I can still interact with him, connect with him. He shows me signs and communication. He still exists. It's so much nicer, though, to have the physical in the same frequency, physical, for him to co-create that life, for everyone to still continue to enjoy him. So I'm going to go back to sharing very quickly, again, this page on Dr. Sarah Larsen. And let's see if we can we'll do this one, we'll cross this one out. This is the third eye at a glance, the third eye chakra. So you've got the ancient names for it, all elements combined light, color indigo, 5 pointed star, the sound that shakes the pineal gland, that the pituitary gland, when you hum, especially with your eyes closed, you're able to vibrate and open the gland up. It's intuition, imagination. The time that it becomes most useful, the most potent, is when we're in our adolescence. The challenge with it is the illusion. Illusion is fear. And again, I'm going into old world wisdom as well as new world wisdom science. We know so beautifully that visible light makes up a very small portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Your voice, your ears, your eyes have so much possibility to see. And when you fully get this, if you shine white light through a prism, would produce rainbow colors because the prism separates the light into different wavelengths of color. Your corpus callosum is the super highway of that connection. You learn this when you're in the field of places that are designed to open up your third eye. In Egypt, the Sphinx so beautifully opens up your third eye. There's processes that we go through there. Scientists, John Asroff right now, really getting into how to awaken those parts of your eyes. I can achieve wherever I set my mind to. These are quotes by him. I can achieve whatever I set my mind to. If you say that over and over and over again, and you begin to believe it and you challenge yourself, your circumstances aren't holding you back. Your decisions are. Again, John Asroff. Be very careful what you say to yourself because someone very important is listening. That's you. You're listening to yourself. Your brain is your servant and requires your guidance in what you want it to do. And there are images of the corpus callosum, the third eye, the pineal gland, that are pictured in Egypt. And the corpus callosum is about 2 million axons of interconnected, so these neuronal connections between the two hemispheres. Think of it as straws. Think of it as information highways. The primary function of the corpus callosum is to integrate motor, sensitive, cognitive performance between the cerebral cortex on one side of the brain to the same region on the other side of the brain. One of your eyes is always absorbing energy and putting out energy. The other side is always analyzing and categorizing that energy, the field, understanding it. And you've got this super highway, these straws, so to speak, channels that integrate motor, sensitive, cognitive performance between your two hemispheres. It's so exciting when you get it, and you get the primary goal is to be able to see yourself clearly. Take a deep breath. Being with us here, right? Take a deep breath so you can step into your truth and purpose more intentionally and powerfully. Your existence in this physical form is a great adventure, and who you are is amazing. Your brain grows, more connections, the more truth you tell yourself. Your brain grows what's possible for you when you're able to really be truthful with yourself and understand who you are. You've got gray matter in your brain, and then you've got white matter in your brain. The gray matter it's so beautiful because it's so dense and it's so full of information, and it makes you be able to function higher and understand more and see and connect more skill sets. Strength is a way to see that. There are ancient practices that show how to keep a baby in flow and connected to the great universe. If you're looking at this image, you see a mother with a baby, a golden baby, nursing. And it's really so much information in this ancient papyrus. The clothing that they're wearing is the energy of the special senses that they've already turned on. Your third eye, your seat to your soul, is flooded through your digestive intelligence. It's flooded by and comes in from really feeling connected to the universe as it is supporting you and nourishing you. This is the ideal way for pharaohs and for leaders. Their mother was nursing them, supporting them, giving them information and truth, listening deeply for the special sets of skills that they were here to bring to the world. Many of us were turned into what our parents wanted, which was little mini them. For most of us, for most of us, our parents wanted to make sure that we were provided for in this world long term. And so many of the skill sets were turned off when we were young kids, much of the creativity. To bring your third eye capacities back, you've got to think of your corpus callosum, your pineal gland, as circulation of fluid and circulation of your cerebrospinal fluid in particular. Cerebro means it's the two hemisphere of the brain. Spinal is the energy in your back, the fluid. This is why yoga works. This is why dance and movement and sitting still. This is why emotions, when you cry, you're washing out your cerebral spinal fluid. And only now are we finally starting to understand that how the brain is cleansed or cleared. And we're fully starting to understand white matter. We literally, scientifically, know more about the moon and the universe than we know about our own white matter, about the connections between our two halves of the brain. Those that have trained themselves or step into service, when you step into service, more of your brain becomes available. So it's not fancy, right? It's how is God calling me to serve? How is the universe? How is my neighbor? The golden rule, that meditation, all of that work is so beautiful. What can happen for you when you fully understand. When you are of service, parts of your brain come online. This was done in the beautiful 1950s Yale doctor. And we're going to dive into that in the next master classes. We'll dive more into how to make sure that you're utilizing it. Life is fun and flow. Your third eye awakens so beautifully. It's so we're going to talk about the things to avoid a little bit. It's so important for you to avoid fluoride for at least 21 days. At least you want to be on a fluoride cleansing diet for your body. Each person has a little bit different processes that they can do. And I love sharing that. And if that's your question for me today, when we get into the coaching part, I'd love to share with you what your body is asking for so that you can get into your third eye activation state, so you can be in your true existence in your body. Our modern diets require the water or liquid that you put in your body be very, very much but pure and clean. We try and drink spring water as much as we can. We also have filters. Melissa and Dawn, who are co-leading the trip to Costa Rica, can tell you all about their great machines that they have. Greg and I have great machines, and we have great belief in them. We want them to share it with you as well. For the filters, you want to avoid fluoride. You want to avoid chlorine. You want the organic living organisms in spring water to be in your water. Water has perfect memory. Last week's class, we talked about how light comes in through liquid, right? Light is coming in, your eyes are moist. It goes through a layer of water, quote unquote, cerebral spinal fluid, like seawater first, before it is taken into your brain and crisscrossed. You've got to avoid fluoride, chlorine, a lot of neurotoxins that take away your ability to fully see. And your body is so resilient, it will bring it back. As long as you're alive, you've got the best pharmacy inside your body. There are supplements that enhance your diet. I love cilantro, and each person a little bit different. We're going to do a raw cacao ceremony in Costa Rica, and we're going to be enhancing that in our trip journey there. Ruth V. Miller is amazing, co-leading that trip. But we'll have all of these foods, all of these things to really open our eyes together. Raw apple cider vinegar, the honey, chlorella. I live by cilantro. I do a lot with cilantro. And each person has a different nourishment or nutrient from their genetics, from their family history, from what's on top of their genes, the ingredient to add into their blood type and genetic makeup. And again, if that's your question, I'm so excited. There's essential oils, lavender, sandalwood, frankincense, parsley, and pine. There are different ways to do this. If you've got allergies, this is a great sense that your pineal gland is really wanting to wake up as well. Ancient Egyptians, ancient Indians, the Greeks, even in churches and synagogues, all of them, lots of aromatic oils or incense is burned. Sun gazing with caution. When you begin sun gazing, I recommend you do it with your eyes closed at first. So you find a spot, you sit down. The last 15 minutes at sunset, you sit with your eyes closed and you receive direct nourishment through the thin skin on your eyes. And then after a period of time, you begin opening your eyes for a few minutes at a time at sunset. And then adding in sunrise. I think that's really, really beautiful. The Om sound or the M sound, then there are great crystals that hold frequency and vibration. Your computer right now is being worked with, right? Your computer right now is, the memory within it is a crystal. Crystals hold memory, and there are particular ones that work really beautifully. Again, it's really beautiful to know which ones will work for you. Amethyst, purple sapphire, the tourmaline. You also have gemstones that clear your energy, and so they work so beautifully. When you begin using your third eye connection, third eye, your two eyes, you've got to be able to share with people, others, what you're experiencing, what your reflections are, what your insights are. If you are given something and you don't share it, it doesn't grow. In other words, you've got to be able to talk about it and share it. And it enhances it for you. And that's all we've got on this page. Again, this is How to Heal Your Third Eye. It's on Dr. Sarah Larsen page. All of the resources are there. We will have this class be part of Miracle Makers Academy. We will probably share the next two classes. These classes came up as a contribution to a man named Charles Hayward III. He has had 7 surgeries for glaucoma. He's at the last stages if he doesn't get stem cells. So we put Miracle Makers, along with all the other things that we're doing all over the world, we put on an event to be able to help him get stem cells. So we'll have 2 more of these classes that we're sharing and contributing to grow what's possible for him. And we will go next into answering your questions for you. Your questions and Miracle Makers Academy, those are always within the Academy and private. That part is never shared. This part of the teaching and what was recording is shared. It'll be out in public for everyone to enjoy and participate in. To summarize what we got today is, 1, your body is this amazing receptor and transmitter of information. Some people have to go into near-death experiences to fully understand what's capable for them. Those near-death experiences come up so that they will share with others what they experienced and what it feels like to create heaven on earth. If you are not experiencing flow right now in your life, if you're not experiencing the God frequency or the miracle frequency, part of your third eye, part of your brain needs integration. It's not your fault that it's not integrated. We've designed our world and taken so much of the things that integrate you away. Now that you know this, you're able to create for yourself the reintegration of the 2 halves of your brain. I highly recommend that you go back and watch Miracle Makers last week's class on understanding how your eyes work. This week, very specifically, steps on healing your eyes and your third eye and integrating the connections is what will go into the reading part for you. I also recommend, if you've got the means and you want to come with us to Costa Rica, we're doing a massive joy experience in Costa Rica. We will make space for those that are ready for that level of true existence, home, co-creating for everyone that they love. the world that we all get to be in together. Everything's energy. And thank you for being love energy. We're going to stop the recording.